2024 has been one of the better years for anime in recent memory, as there have been so many great series and movies released. These are the top 5 anime of 2024, so you should probably watch them if you haven't already. And stick around to the end of the video for some honorable mentions that just missed the cut. Starting at number 5 is Delicious in Dungeon, as this is one of the funniest shows of the year by far. The anime follows a group using any resources that they can to save the main character's sister, which causes them to literally eat the monsters they take out, leading to some of the most hilarious bits of comedy of the year. Not only is the show incredibly witty, but the visual comedy is top-notch, as there never really feels like a dull moment throughout it. The characters all stand out in some humorous ways, with Senshi's scenes getting some of the biggest laughs out of me. Like, I still can't get over the visuals of him being an elf. I was literally dying that episode. But Delicious in Dungeon, above all, might actually be one of the most chill yet fun anime to watch this year. It became my go-to to watch after a stressful day, or whenever I needed a good laugh, as it certainly wins the Good Vibes Anime of the Year award. Number 4 is Kaiju number 8, which honestly might be one of the most relatable anime that I've watched in years, as it follows a 32-year-old protagonist, which is kind of refreshing as he gains kaiju powers to fight off massive kaiju. I really like the gradual buildup of this one, not only from the characters, but also in terms of the world building. And the action sequences were always entertaining, with some really impressive animation from Production IG. The reveals for the most part landed with me, as the overall through line of the narrative was consistently engaging to the end of the season. It also felt like it was more than just an anime where the main character could just punch stuff and win, as the character mistakes felt like they had consequences, and I was often surprised by the levels of gore that it would inject, which ultimately allowed for more intense fights where it never really felt as though wins were guaranteed. But something that I don't think enough people talk about in regard to this anime are some of the lighter moments, as through some of those more serious and intense sequences, the anime manages to add small doses of levity wherever it can. And I thought it was done thoughtfully and carefully enough that it didn't create an uneven tone, which I know can happen in a lot of anime. Next up is Look Back, which wins the award for Break Your Heart Anime of the Year. This anime actually manages to do more in 60 minutes than others have been able to do over years, as it follows the trials and tribulations of 2 manga artists growing together, both through rivalry but also through companionship. Not only is the animation breathtaking, but if you have a heart, you'll probably be a mess by the end of it. The animation looks like it was ripped right out of the one-shot manga by Chainsaw Man creator Tatsuki Fujimoto, as its attention to detail in regards to the source material is astounding and managed to find ways to elevate it. There are so many layers to a lot of what's being said and the questions that this film asks, to the point where I feel as though this should be nominated for an Oscar with the sheer quality on display of everything that it does. I already have a full review of Look Back on my channel where I talk about many of these themes in more depth, so be sure to check it out there. And coming in at number 2 is Dandadan, as this is probably the most fun I've had watching an anime in years. It follows 2 students into the cult and aliens as they try and get the main character's balls back. And as crazy as that all sounds, it manages to have a very endearing romance at the heart of it. The anime is chaotic in the best ways, and in my opinion has some of the best action scenes in 2024. Just do not watch it in front of your parents. Like, seriously, when I started watching this anime, I thought it would be a great idea to watch the first episode in front of my mom one day, and let's just say I had to turn it off before I even got halfway through it. But when I did get back to Dandadan, it felt like it was the best sugar rush of my life, as the more chaotic it became, the better it would get. The set pieces are some of the most thoughtful and somehow also some of the most off the rail in anime this year. And just like in Look Back, it managed to elevate its source material in a myriad of ways. Humor really got to me in this one in ways that most other anime haven't been able to. I don't know if it just speaks exactly to my sense of humor, but this is probably the most I've ever laughed over the course of a 12-episode season of anime. On top of that, the style of the editing is by far the best that I've seen in an anime in years. And I guess what they say about comedy all being about timing is true, because the editing is so conducive to that. The quick cuts and the perfectly timed pan over to a character's wacky facial expressions is just so on point. It kind of gives me some Edgar Wright, Scott Pilgrim vibes, which I feel is the perfect direction it could have gone in. But the last notch that it has in its belt is that I would say it has the single best episode of anime that I've seen all year, and had the anime community in tears. So for that alone, it deserves to be pretty high up on this list. Plus, I'm still rocking out to that opening theme song every single time I'm driving in my car. Like, it is so catchy. So I really think this anime is only going to grow even more in popularity as more people discover it. Last but not least is Frieren, my number 1 anime of the year, as it's shaping up to be one of the best anime I've ever seen. The story follows an elf decades after taking on the Demon King, as it explores what is essentially her immortality and outliving those around her. It really dives into not taking small moments of life for granted and cherishing the friendships you make along the way, because even if you're an elf, life will literally pass you by. The anime doesn't have an abundance of action, but when it does, it hits incredibly hard, as it is one of the most complete anime of the year. Something that I really appreciated about the show is that it never really overstayed its welcome in regards to its comedy, which for me kept the pacing of what some might say is a slow-moving show to a speed that I could very much appreciate. Something that the show does better than any other anime that I've seen to date are its montage sequences. Since the passage of time is a big part of this anime, I think it was important that they nailed this, as it was always something that I looked forward to them doing. Character abilities were also a great part of the show, as magic users felt distinct from one another, and even though it's not exactly what the anime is really about, throughout the first season it had a number of jaw-dropping moments that wowed me, but was never afraid to follow that up with asking its viewers valuable questions questions rather than just giving us answers, which is a valuable nuance that I feel as though very few anime are able to pull off nowadays, and is a big part of why I think Frieren is the best anime of 2024. But I'm curious to know, what are your top 5 anime of the year, and which ones should I have included? Write your top 5 list in the comments down below, I'd love to see them. But in terms of honorable mentions, I really enjoyed the visual fidelity of the Apothecary Diaries. I honestly just haven't made enough time to watch it all, or else it probably would have been in this top 5 list. I also loved a lot of the action sequences in Solo Leveling and what it's setting up for the second season, which I am super hyped for. And Elusive Samurai might have been one of the most underrated anime to come out this year, and I really think more people need to give it a shot. But if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. And don't forget to share this with a friend who loves anime, and I'll see you in the next one. And the movie shows rather than tells the audience in such artistic ways through some incredibly dynamic and moving scenes. But one of my favorite themes explored here is just how we're able to handle grief and find ways to keep on going in the face of tragic events, some of which are actually based on some true events that happened in the anime industry not too long ago.